Joining us is Executive Director of Hope for the Masses Foundation, Oluwatomosin Debokola. Thanks so much for joining us on the program. Very quickly, we're looking at the grassroots development. Recently, the Supreme Court gave financial autonomy to the local government, but it looks that it is never going to be enough. We've seen some states neglecting what ought to be their priorities. How do we get our grassroots developed?
Hello, thank you so much for bringing me on board today. I apologize for the previous times I had to skip. Okay, let's talk about grassroots governance. The Supreme Court did grant or did ratify that idea that is entrenched in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, saying that grassroots local governments in Nigeria are entitled to financial autonomy. It simply means they can have their own money, and they can spend it without the interference of the state government, irrespective of the state where they function. This is just a confirmation of what is in the Constitution. I need us to understand that this is already enshrined in the Constitution already. And now it has been ratified by the Supreme Court. But the reaction from the governors across board begs the question, are we operating another constitution when it comes to the state government, and then another one when it gets to the national level? Because it is kind of preposterous for someone like me to see state governors like the Anambra state governor, enacting their own law, contravening what is written in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the question is, are we operating under the Constitution? And you said the interesting part about the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the fact that when a law is enacted by the House of Assembly and that law contravenes what is written in the Constitution of the Federal Republic, the one in the Constitution takes precedence over whatever. So I think it is more of an intentional way of keeping grassroots development at the purview of the state governors. Maybe that is exactly what some of the state governors are looking at. I'd like to take an example, or I like to pay attention to a state like Kaduna and a state like Lagos. When I talk about grassroots governance, they are the example of what can be. Let's take a look at Lagos. For example, Lagos operates financial autonomy. They've been operating it for a very long time, and we can see what that has translated in terms of development of the grassroots in Lagos. I'm not saying Lagos has it, all rosy and they have it all well, but at least you can see that there is development at the grassroots, and this simply is possible because the local government chairman can be held accountable for the amount of money that they've been getting. So people can go to the local government and say, oh, my road is not good, the road that leads to this school is not good, oh, this school is dilapidated, why are you not functioning, why are you not renovating the schools? The man can be called to question because he is given adequate funds to fulfill his responsibility to the people he governs as local government chairman. Sincerely, let's talk about the duties of the local government. And this all comes down to how can the grassroots develop? If the local governments do not function at par, do not function to optimum, how exactly do we expect Nigeria to develop? Economically, geographically, business-wise, we cannot develop because most of the function usurped by the state is actually entrenched as part of the function of the local government. Take, for example, there's supposed to be a consideration or a making of recommendations to a state commission on economic development. This is what it means. If the local government is the first handshake of democracy to the people, the first handshake of development to the people, what exactly is the local government supposed to do? The state government cannot leave its pedestal and go to the various local communities to find out what their needs are. But the local government council can, because the local government council is right in the midst of the people. It is easier for them to detect. It is easier for them to do a survey. It is easier for them to interact and say, oh, the peculiar need of these people is better water. The peculiar need of these people is drainage system. The peculiar need of these people is to prevent rate erosion. And so the state, the local government can take that recommendation before the State Economic Council and say, you know what, this is what my people need. That will help the local government, the state government, also in channeling resources that is meant for that community in the right place. You won't be spending money doing things that people don't need. But every time we remove the local government from conversations that has to do with grassroots governance, we definitely are giving to our people less than what is due to them. I mean, a minuscule part of what is due to them. Let's talk about the maintenance of schools. For example, are people aware that the local governments are meant to be building, maintaining schools, either the primary, the adult, or the vocational schools in their various communities? How many local government chairmen do you see doing that? Do you know how many schools are so broken down that the students can barely sit in their classrooms? Haven't we seen videos go around of children learning under the trees?
All right.
We did a survey of a particular school. My foundation actually went to a particular community outside of Lagos, and we did a survey, and we found a school where the children still use a latrine toilets. Just imagine a latrine, the pit toilet, in the hole in the ground. And this is in the southwest, a hole in the ground as toilet. So what exactly do you expect? How will those children relate to the children outside of that community if in a proper state, in a local government, a school that is over 50 years old cannot boast of a single toilet? And even that latrine, let's talk about it. A pit toilet was even donated by NYSC students, NYSC corps members who came there to serve. What is the function? What is the responsibility of that local government chairman?
All right.
So in that community,
The competition is big and large, and of course that's the reason why we must begin to see how the ways to address, because the problems are now enormous, and in finding solutions to this, that those are having a concern that we have the laid down laws on ground, but it looks that it is not implemented. We have the anti-graft agencies that are ought to probably be checkmating, management of resources and funds. Do you feel that people just, get away with things? Because if people must be compelled to understand that they are managing the resources of the people and they ought to give back to the environment and the society, which is the essence of government, then we may not be having this conversation.
Well, you see, the first question I think we should ask ourselves, how many local governments across the 768 that is entrenched in the Constitution, how many of those local governments are getting the funds? May I ask you? Isn't that a question we should be asking ourselves first? Now we will now go to those ones who are getting it. How many of them are using it? I tell you that some of them are not even getting the funds.
That was prior to the Supreme Court judgment. Now that we have Supreme Court judgment giving an order that all funds must be sent directly to the local government, we are also having a concern at the same time the fears of mismanagement, and that's the reason I'm asking, because it's not just about sending allocations to them. Issues of management of the resources for the full utilization is also a major issue.
And that is the exact reason why we say that our democracy must function as expected. There is oversight function. Every time we watch the National Assembly call the ministers and ask them questions on how monies that were, appropriated to their ministries are spent. Same thing will happen. We have the EFCC. They are the ones that are supposed to be watching the executive and saying all this monies. Mind you, the local government chairmen do not have immunity. Are you aware? They do not have immunity. So if our institutions, if our organizations, institutions like the ICPC, like the EFCC, will do their job and do it appropriately, then nobody should be talking about somebody misappropriating money, because the money was, if money is being given to you, then something you must expect that somebody will be watching your back. And that's why we have organizations like ours looking closely into the grassroots governance and saying, gone are the days when monies will be given to you and you will spend it buying irrelevant things, or the money will just filter into the air and we cannot figure out what you did with it. We are going to be closely watching. And of course, it is not just our job. It is the job of every citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to ask those questions. What do you do with the money? There's supposed to be a referendum at the local government level. The local government chairman cannot wake up in the morning and decide he wants to start building public conveniences when the people's basic need is a place to trade, which would be a market. It needs to have conversations with his people. If he does not converse with them, then he's not leading them. He's actually leading his own cronies. But if he is going to spend their money, he must converse with them. He must find out what they need. He must send his people into the community to find out what they need. And that must reflect in the budget of 2025. If monies are going to be paid directly from the FAC accounts into local government accounts from November 2024, then we must see this hard work reflect in the budgets that the local governments will present before their people in 2025. And when those budgets are presented, you and I, journalists, civil society organizations, NGOs across board must begin to look closely into what it is. Let somebody not call for table and chair at the cost of 1.6 billion naira. We must look closely at what is written in that particular document called the budget. And when we look into it, then we make recommendations. When we make recommendations, then we begin to follow through. You know what I think our problem is in Nigeria? We do not have active citizens. We like to complain, but we do not walk the walk. We are not even willing to do the work that it will take to get to that level. We're not doing the work. We're not doing our researches. We're not asking the right questions. We're not calling them to question. When it's not about attacking the government. It's not about saying, oh, you're not doing anything. You're not. That's not it. You need to engage them constructively. That is how to be a good citizen. Engage them. Ask the right questions. Okay, why do you want to do this? Okay, what do you want to do? Make recommendations from your CDAs, your CDC. Take it to your local government chairman. He is going to be presenting. They're already having budget retreat. He is going to be presenting that budget to his assembly, which is his own councillors, in the next couple of weeks. And that budget will be approved for 2025. When that budget is approved, it will go ahead and start spending money from January 2025. My brother, what exactly are we supposed to do? This is the time to engage them. We are all screaming, oh, financial autonomy has been granted to look. But are you asking them? Are you telling them what you need? Ask them what they want to do with the money. And then follow up. If you see them spending money on irrelevances, report to the appropriate quarters. I mean, well, there are whistleblowers all around. Tell the EFCC, I think my local government chairman is not doing enough. Send a letter. It may be an open letter to the media. Drop a letter at the door of the EFCC. Ask them to look into your local government. The local government chairmen do not have autonomy, and Nigerians need to know that. The moment you begin to spend the people's money, it may sound very humongous and very big, but the truth is, the jail term is also that big. People need to know that the jail term is also that big. They're not governors, they're not presidents who would have to wait till the end of their tenure before they are called to question. We would not allow them to get to that point before we call them to question. As they begin to spend the money, I remember the last couple of months, I think it was sometime last year, when there was this noise about furniture or lights or something in the Lagos State expense account. If you can remember the story, that the deputy governor had to come out and say, oh, you know what, no, this was what happened. We need to pay attention like that. Begin to pay attention to every kobo. If he says he is going to do palliatives or food palliatives to 2,000 people in the community, audit it as a citizen. Audit it. Don't say it's none of my business. I am not one of the people who need the palliative, so I won't go there. You are a citizen of that local government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So everything that happens in this country is your business. We must mind that business.
All right. I mean, before we wrap up, there are a lot of intervention. The government will tell you that we are carrying a lot of intervention programs, a lot of initiative, but it looks that there is a disconnection between the people and what government are doing. Just as you raise issues of proper engagement, within among the citizens and indigents of local government, that those that are really having a concern that there is a disconnection between what government policies are going, the direction where government policies are going, and where the people's attention are. Because oftentimes the people's attention is about fuel subsidy removal of the president. The people's attention is over the naira, the floating of the naira policy, which, according to them, has drawn Nigeria to this economy wars we have in the nation. How do we begin to understand? How do we also begin to engage as citizens in this direction? Do you feel government are not being sincere with the policy for people to feel that they should not really believe what government are doing?
Okay, so I would first of all say that the deed is done. Naira has been devalued. The deed is done. Fuel subsidy has been removed. Nobody is bold enough to say, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I've not heard anybody say it anyway, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, go out there, go borrow money and come use it as fuel subsidy. Nobody has said that. I've not heard it, if anybody has. Nobody has, however, said, oh, people kept saying you shouldn't have removed. Oh, you shouldn't have declared. You shouldn't have. There's no point crying. My position is that there is no point crying over spilled milk. Milk has been spilled and we are living it already. But I'll please plead with the government at this point, because policies need to be made for the people. I, for one, will begin to appreciate it if the government begins to do little things that can reach the people directly. Interestingly, I saw something in the Constitution earlier that said something about the basic minimum or something for old people, something like an economic net and all that. And it could be interpreted like that. Something to make the average Nigerian comfortable. Some measure of respite needs to be given. And I think the moment all of these subsidies were removed, the first thing the government needs to do is to provide food subsidy. How that will be done would need to be intelligently tackled. We need to provide food subsidy, because the moment food is simpler, food is easier to buy, food is cheaper, people will complain less. And I think public transportation can also be subsidized, because if the government actually can recognize the people who provide public transportation and can provide subsidy for that, then why not? But the last time the government tried it was when people were traveling home for Christmas, and majority of the people said the people working in those motor parks had bought the ticket. They are taking all the tickets off and they were reselling at very humongous prices. And this is Nigerian to Nigerian. So even if the government does these things and the government does not put people in charge to monitor to the latter, the selfishness of the human nature will come out, and the people will begin to usurp and take advantage of one another, rather than allowing the ordinary Nigerian enjoy these benefits that the government has provided. So for me, it shouldn't go through proxy. It shouldn't go through the third party. Let it be done for the people themselves. Establish a social security office in every state. Let people be able to go there, register themselves. That money that you want to give to them, put it in a card, give the card to them, just the way the carry card works in Lagos. Let them be able to tap the carry card or that particular card to pay for their public transport whenever they want to go buy food. Find a way to subsidize food, find a way to subsidize public transportation, and then all of these politics that we're screaming about, that we're complaining about, will definitely not be the order of the day again. Our complaints will not come. Nigerians won't complain, because the basic things that they need for survival is food and the ability to move from place to place. Once those things are taken care of, the government can now pay attention into making sure that the economy becomes strong again, and then the value of the naira begins to increase. But as far as fuel subsidy is concerned, that is gone, is gone. I don't like crying over things that are past. I just think that the government can do better in tackling the daily living of Nigerians and making them live better. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much. This is Adebo Kola Oluwatomosin, Executive Director of Hope for the Masses Foundation. Thanks so much for connecting with us on the program Big Talk and sharing passionately on the insight on how we can get our grassroots developed.
It's been a pleasure being here with you. I look forward to seeing you again. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. and our concern on how this can go and the impacts on how we can get a grassroots developed is a major concern for all. Our attentions on how we can continue to engage the subnational, attention on how we can continue to participate in the local government processes so as to get, tackle the economic hardship confronting the nation. All hands must be on deck in order for us to drive, these economic situations out in Nigeria. That's the size of a discussion tonight. A whole lot of concern right there in the United States of America. We earlier stated that Donald Trump has been re-elected as the president of the United States of America, 47th president of the United States of America. The congratulations are still in order for President Donald Trump. Till tomorrow again, we'll look at other big issues on the program Big Talk. My name is Edikan Michael. See you again.